Motor Speedway. I'm Rich Phillips, the voice of Texas Motor Speedway. Glad to have you here as we start off the AAA Texas 500 today with some press conferences with some of our dignitaries. And first up today, as you can see up on the stage here, we have film and television star John Krasinski, who is here as the Grand Marshal today for the AAA Texas 500. And some special guests with him as well are Mark Oz Geist and John Tiegen. They are CIA annex security team members that fought off Islamic militants on September 11th and 12th, 2012 in Benghazi, Libya, because they are all part of a movie from Paramount Pictures called 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi. John is playing the role of a Navy SEAL in this real-life motion picture thriller that was directed by Michael Bay. John, tell us a little bit about this movie and what it was like to undertake this role.
Well, I mean, first off, it was an honor in every single way to do this movie. I've been wanting to do something like this for a long time as an actor, and then to be given a story that is, in my opinion, it's weird to say it in front of these guys, but it's true. I don't think there's a more pure definition of the word heroism as there is in this movie, and I firmly believe that. I think not only the heroics that happened that night are something that I think we can all respect, admire, and be really thankful for, but especially these guys, I don't think everybody knows, but these guys were no longer working for the military, they were contractors. So what that means is they had no order or necessarily responsibility to go, but they went anyway. And I think that doing the right thing at all costs is sort of what I think we all try to live by as people, or try to teach your kids to do the right thing at all costs, and this is that in its truest form. So for me to be a part of this story was such an honor, and then training for it and getting to realize how to pretend to go through what these guys went through was sort of harrowing enough for us actors, from gun training to working out to going over there and learning what they went through. We had a set that was basically, what was it, 3/4 of the size of the actual compound?
Yeah,
right?
It's 3/4.
So we had a compound that was pretty much designed almost exact as it was that night. And so we just got this unbelievably immersive experience that I'll certainly never forget. And these guys were on set, which was extremely helpful on every level.
Now, you've done comedies, you've done dramas, you've even voiced parts in some animated films, but how much different is that whole experience and undertaking of these are real-life events that you were depicting?
Well, to be honest, this is the first time I've ever played someone who's A, a real character, and B, living. So it was an enormous responsibility, not only to the character I was playing, but to these guys, and also, most importantly, to the event and making it specific and accurate in every way that we could. So to me, that was the hardest thing, is to make sure that we got it right. And I think that there are many movies out there where you'll see biopics, you'll see things based on real stories. But something like this, I come from a big military family with aunts and uncles and cousins who, a whole large number of people. So I felt a responsibility to anybody who has served to tell, in my opinion, we have a whole bunch of movies now of superheroes, and we get to look up to a lot of people, but I think that we can spend more time making movies about the real heroes, and so to me that was the highest level of responsibility that we felt, and we took it very, very seriously.
February 15th from Paramount Pictures. Now, John is giving the command for the drivers to start their engines today, and I do understand this isn't just your first dalliance with NASCAR. You're a bit of a fan of the sport.
Absolutely, yeah. Actually, I think it was one of the first jobs I ever did as an actor was. I showed a couple people today. Don't go look it up. But the first thing I ever did was a NASCAR commercial for, I think it was AT&T, and it was with Matt Kenseth. And it was a phenomenal experience to go down to North Carolina and be at my first live race car track and get to meet him and play around. So, and then in college, I had a whole bunch of buddies who were NASCAR fans. So being a boy from Boston, we didn't have a whole lot of NASCAR in our reach. So I needed some teaching, and I learned a whole lot. I loved it. I thought it was it's so exciting. I mean, and then you actually get here and you see how big it is, and you realize I didn't even know how exciting it was until you step onto a track like this.
Well, we'll see John out at the pre-race stage later, and we'll open it up to questions here in just a moment. But first, we said there are some other guests up there. Again, Mark Oz Geist, he is sitting over here on my side of the stage. Mark began his military career in 1984 in the United States Marine Corps. After 12 years in the Marine Corps, he's worked in other areas of law enforcement. One of the co-authors of the book 13 Hours that this movie is based upon. Mark, tell us about this project and how you feel it depicts the events of September 11th and 12th, 2012.
The thing we were really all of us on our team that were actually over there worked with the director Michael Bay and with all the actors, and it was a concern of ours when we started out on what would and wouldn't be done, but they were all. I mean, they took a seriousness to this project like I haven't ever seen before. I mean, we got to be we were integral in doing development on the set, on the script, and then on scene when we were on location shooting. And I have nothing but accolades to Michael Bay and all the actors on what they did and how well they did it.
And then on the other side is John Tiegen, also one of the co-authors of the book 13 Hours. John was a Marine sergeant. He worked as a security contractor before going to work for the CIA Global Response Staff. You were in the midst of your third trip to Benghazi when the attacks occurred. What can you tell us about that day?
I don't remember a thing I hid.
All the cameras go
Nothing
up.
at all.
Good joke.
No, I mean, I think the movie's going to be a really good. It's going to throw the truth out there, and hopefully, people are going to realize what really happened that night on the ground. And I think it's going to be a good flick.
All right, we've got a couple of members of our staff here in the back that have microphones, and we'll open it up to questions. Right back over here.
Gentleman, Stan Creekmore from RPMTonight.com, and a military boy at one point in his life as well. My father was in the Navy. To you two members of the military, how do you cleanse your minds when you come home so that you just live normal lives with your families?
Well, both of us have been contracting for over 10 years. I've probably, in the last 10 years, we've probably spent 7 of it in the Middle East. And that is our normal. I mean, to us, it's a life. And we immerse ourselves with our family and our loved ones and our friends. And that's kind of, I think, for me, that's my solace, is just having my family around. And, I grew up on the eastern plains of Colorado and small town, and that's just that's my cleansing, or my, I don't know my namaste or whatever you want to call it.
There's another one of those big words. For me, it's just like he was saying, it's just kind of came like a natural thing, especially being in the military and deploying. It was kind of pretty easy for me because my wife was prior military as well. So we kind of, I don't know, it's really hard to describe how. But when I came home, I took a week and just like isolated myself from everybody else, kind of decompress, especially if something. Because for me and Oz, Mark, this wasn't like our only event that we ever had happened to us, obviously. But so especially if something happened, you came home, you can't talk about it because of who we work for. So you come home, you just kind of decompress by yourself with your family, and then you kind of immerse with the rest of the world. And it's just, I don't know, it just kind of came like a natural thing.
Thank you.
Any other questions out there? For John, for you, how difficult was this for you to make sure that you're, as you said earlier, playing someone alive, someone who's real? How difficult was it to make sure you had all of that correct in your acting?
Well, I mean, like I said, difficulty didn't really factor in. It was more about just an immediate response to make sure I had it right from the beginning. So I was very lucky enough to actually meet the guy that I'm playing, who's probably one of the greatest guys I'll ever meet. He's just one of the most true, honest, earnest and kind people that it was hard for me to sort of process how he and these guys go through what they go through and then come back as such incredibly solid men to look up to for all of us, which was really, really something special. And I think for me, I think there's this might not come out right, but the way I feel is I feel that when you see events on the news and news stories come in, I think that as a normal citizen, quote unquote, you try to intellectualize the stories that are coming in. And I think for me, this experience was such an amazing outlet to create an emotional connection to it in a way that I hadn't really processed it before. Even being, like I said, related to many military people, it's something different to get in the trenches, learn all this information firsthand, hear the stories, be walked through what happened. It really does put you in an emotional state that you probably, or at least for me, could never have been there without it. And so for me, I feel incredibly honored that I got to see behind the proverbial curtain and get to feel a little bit more of how much, not just saying thank you to our men and women who are serving, but really realize what you're saying when you say that.
I believe you have a question right over here.
Stu Myrick from the Austin Radio Network and 104.9 The Horn in Austin. John, first of all, two parts. Number one, what was